a real song.
Don't believe it for a
Stop
second.
defending her.
Hello, welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. It's Tuesday. That means Roxy Stiar is here. That's how I know my days of the week.
Yeah. You've gotten really good at knowing those days.
Oh, I'm getting better. Joe Starr. Hello. Dan Murrell.
Hello.
I'm Roth Cornet, and we got a lot to talk about. Who's your daddy, Batman? Alec Baldwin. Millennium Falcon fail. Studio interference. So much good stuff. Let's start with Alec Baldwin and the one Joker movie that we truly believe is in development and will be made. This is the Joaquin Phoenix standalone origin story for the Joker. I was going to say Joaquin Phoenix has been cast as his dad, but that's not the case.
Nope.
He's the Joker. Alec Baldwin has been cast to appear in the film as Thomas Wayne, aka Bruce Wayne's daddy. He's joining, this cast is amazing. He's joining Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, Mark Maron are all already set to be in this film. This is all via Variety and THR, by the way. THR reports that the project will veer off center, quote, from the traditional Batman canon, and sources say that the script paints Thomas Wayne as a cheesy and tanned businessman who is more in the mold of a 1980s Donald Trump. Now, we're going to get into this because there are things to discuss here, and I'm sure a lot of folks have some feelings. I know that Billy does. But it's interesting, too, that they cast Alec Baldwin because he, of course, did the Trump impersonation. Can I say something real? I love Alec Baldwin. He's amazing. It wasn't his best. I don't think that Trump impersonation was his best.
It started off great.
It started off great.
Because they wrote it.
Yeah. That's
And then
true.
at some point, I think he was just like, I'll do it on the day.
Yeah.
I've got this. And then he would just go on and yell about hands. And, and the laughs went away.
Well, they're going to write this, so that's the good news. That's the good news.
What if he's like, no?
No, I'll do it on the day. I mean, I don't know that he's going to fully be doing the Trump impersonation, but this movie sounds more and more batshit by the second.
Pun
which
intended.
I have to admit, I have to imagine that a lot of comic fans are having don't do it to me, Billy. Express yourself.
I just don't understand between this and Jonathan Kent. Why are we getting the worst versions of DC parents? That's not what Thomas Wayne is. He's an inspiration to Bruce. He was, and to Gotham in general. It's kind of the symbolic Gotham has fallen when Thomas Wayne is murdered, and now you're going to turn him cheesy? No, stop throwing a flag on the play.
All right.
I don't feel that same way.
Okay, good. Roxy. Perry.
Because this is not our Thomas Wayne in our BVS universe. It's
an Elseworld tale.
And we don't need to see this Thomas Wayne interact with a Batman ever, or with a Bruce, and with that world. So I'm okay having a very different version, because how weird would it be to have the Thomas Wayne version that we have already? We need to see something different. I get that you would feel a little hurt by him. And if you're watching Gotham, we do feel a little hurt by him right now. And there already are mixed feelings on it. But I have to say, I feel like I'm having multiple strokes at once with this show, with this movie, because
No, with the show was right,
Yeah,
too.
with this show.
That was also accurate.
I just everything inside me is saying, don't get excited, push it down, don't be happy about this, hate this film, don't like this. But then everything that keeps coming out, I'm like, is this unreal?
Yeah, no, it sounds, I have to admit, it sounds like whatever it is, and I have questions about the directorial choice, if I'm honest, but this weird mix of persons, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm here for at least an interesting film coming out of them.
Yeah, I've been openly skeptical, but it looks like this is going to happen. I was at the point I was just like, this is never going to happen. It sounds too weird, but it looks like it's actually going to happen. But I think, I get what Billy's saying, but also I think at this point, if you're going to commit to these multiple potential projects about one character, I think they have to run from the mythology. I really do. I think they have to be so different that it distinguishes itself from everything else that's going on. I don't know if that's the right or wrong approach, but the idea of just we're going to do this weird movie, but keep the characterization the same. I think it gets weird and muddled, and then you're tied to the mythology a little too much. So I think that might be their only choice, is if we're going to distinguish ourselves from the Joker that just came out and the Joker that came before that, we're not going to go in the direction of the Batman mythology as it's known. We're just going to sprint the other way with our own thing and see what happens. So I am very curious to see this movie. I am really, really curious
Me
to see what they
too.
do with this because
isn't that
I don't
fun?
know what it's going to be. I really don't.
Joe, would you rather sort of be hearing news that felt very standard to you and like, yeah, that sounds like a Batman Joker movie, or does this excite you because it does sound so weird and insane?
I think weird and insane is.
That was a leading question. By
It
the
was.
way.
It really was. Sustained. I think
Objection.
I think weird and insane. I already sustained it, Stiar.
I don't
That's
know.
how the law works.
I only watch some court shows. I'm not quite sure how it works.
Judy says something sassy, and then her bailiff tags it with a joke. That's
now
how,
I
That's how the law works.
Oh.
I think the only thing that saves this is that if it just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder, because I don't know, in no reality I can imagine is a Joker origin film that's just like, oh, it's based on the Killing Joke, and all it takes is one bad day or whatever. In no earth is that an interesting movie to me. So yeah, keep making this crazy. Even if it ends up being a bad movie, I will still give it so many props for having the gall to be a comic book movie that's not a predictable bingo card of comic book
Yeah,
references.
me
That's
too.
what I
storylines.
thought
Yeah.
about the first
Yes.
like
They're
half
weird.
of Fantastic Four of Josh Trank's movie.
What the movie he wanted to
The
make.
movie that he wanted, the first
Yeah.
half that was more the movie that he wanted to make. I was watching it and I was just like, I don't really know if this works, but at least it's different.
Yeah, but you're like,
and
okay.
and weird. Like I don't know if. And then where it got terrible was when they took that break in the middle, and then it just became everything you've seen.
The
in
wig
every
switch.
other Yeah.
It's the wig.
The wig, yeah, the wig, exactly. I feel the same way. Is I will take a artistic sort of bold chance that doesn't work over another recycled version of, because I agree, like the Joker's a great character, but we've seen so many adaptations of one bad day and the whole it's been done. It's been done many times over.
So that just isn't true. It takes more than one bad day to make a supervillain, I would hope, right?
I mean, for him, it was really the culmination.
The culmination.
It should really be all it takes is several bad things happening concurrently, culminating in one pretty awful day.
And
But
then you have the movie
doesn't fit in the
falling
bubble.
down.
It's
Clarification
yeah,
question,
exactly. Then
because
you got defense.
I feel like some of this comes out from DC and some of it doesn't. Are we positive that Robert De Niro and Zazie Beetz and Mark Maron are official in it,
Yeah.
or is it just rumor?
No, they're
completely?
in it. This
DC,
go ahead.
I just can't believe how DC still is not taking hold of this and is still like letting other little bits of information spurt out at certain times through all different mouthpieces. Like how?
If
Wait, what
Walter
do you
Hamada
mean, though?
himself confirmed this casting, I
Yeah.
still wouldn't believe it.
This isn't. I mean, the way the news around this movie is being revealed really isn't that different than any other movie. We just got casting news on episode 9 today. Matt Smith's in it. What do you think? It's the Doctor. Okay.
Does that make you really happy?
Of course, it's the Doctor.
I think.
Can I clarify just for a second that all of these castings, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, these are coming from reputable sources. These are
Yeah,
Hollywood
absolutely.
Reporter, Variety, Deadline. But to your point, no official cast list with their names has been released. But at the same time, if these rumors were not true, Warner Brothers
They would have said something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's just what's insane
But Billy,
to
that's
me.
not casting being reported through Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Variety. That's how it's done. It's you.
Well, in the terms of like Robert De Niro specifically, it was he's in final negotiations, he's in final talks. Like there hasn't been like
Exactly.
hot off the
all I'm
press.
saying is to answer.
Of course.
This is becoming a very weird moment. To answer to sort of speak to what Roxy is saying. Having covered multiple news cycles on films, there's really nothing. The thing that has been crazy out of Warner Brothers is not the announcements around this movie. This has actually been pretty consistently how movies are kind of like revealed in the press a lot of the times. What's been crazy coming out of Warner Brothers is the multiple versions of multiple films of all of the different things, sort of like leaked information about what's happening behind the scenes, and maybe they're going to do this, and is Ben Affleck in it, and is he not? Is the Batman? it's like all of the contradictory pieces. It's not been like Robert De Niro's in negotiations, says Variety. That's not that unusual at all.
I just think it's strange that prior to De Niro being announced, I heard it 4 weeks before THR Variety said anything from like gossip sites, and then it's confirmed, but then it's not really confirmed. I do think it's weird the way that DC is pushing out their info.
It's very much a tale of like, if you look at how two studios operate, is like Warner Brothers is just like the rumor of the day and whatever. I think maybe an insider, somebody said it, sources said, and then if you look like Disney is just like, okay, we're gonna have a press release at 9:00. It's gonna announce that Kerry Russell's been cast. Do we have the quote from Kerry Russell? We have the quote from Kerry Russell.
Exactly.
Let's coordinate. Have we called all? Like everything is just
Here's
like
a tweet with the entire cast of The Lion King.
and,
Exactly.
yeah,
But you are so
staged.
right. This is not, by far and away, this is not the worst that they've done in terms of releasing information. It's just kind of.
I would want to own it, I think is what you're saying. Like, I would want to, like, really be like, from the studio that seems like they're kind of getting their act together. Here's
We
another.
have Joaquin and Alex and Zazie and Robert.
And me, Mark Maron.
But they're
something.
just like Walter Hamada is just now in the process of cleaning it up. Like Billy and I did a whole thing on Warner Brothers and Disney and what was happening at the studio, and especially before the AT&T deal went through. You can go look at it. It's with Richard Rushfeld of The Angler. When the AT&T deal was not yet set, there was a lot of upheaval at the studio in general, not just in terms of DC, but in general, a lot of infighting, a lot of people positioning, a lot of people really scared about what that deal would mean for them and their jobs. And then DC is over here not doing what they want to be doing, not finding the success that they want to find with their characters, with Justice League, other than Wonder Woman. And so there's even that's more heightened with people infighting and positioning and wanting their perspective through. And so they're leaking to their various outlets, right? So it looks like total chaos. And in the midst of this, Walter Hamada comes in and he wants to try and get it under control and clean it up. And he has said, he's been quoted as saying it was a shit show that he walked into. And he's in that process now. And I feel like this film is coming out of the process of him wanting to clean it up and wanting to own the message. But there's just a lot of threads that haven't been dealt with yet, and that's why it still seems a little bit chaotic. And then add to that, it's a really weird movie.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy weird.
And I would
but
also,
you're right.
No, totally.
I would also argue to an extent this is how it's always worked, but now there's a 24-hour entertainment media machine that gets fed that didn't even 5 years ago get fed like this. Like 5 years ago, things could happen behind closed doors, and when they were ready, they would announce it in a press release. Disney somehow is able to still do that. I don't know how, but
Deep State.
Threats.
who knows? But
Kidnappings.
this, I think it's also the fact that like
Brainwashing.
Yeah.
you know, it used to be reportage was like, I hear a rumor, I'm going to call my guy at the studio, he's can confirm or deny it, or I'm going to talk to 3 insiders and they can confirm or deny it. I'm going to get a quote from somebody, I'm going to dig into it, and then I'm going to print my story. And it seems like largely that middle part gets skipped. It's just like, I heard something, print it! And it's in print like 30 minutes later. And then the reportage happens afterwards, which you can talk about journalistic standards. I have my own opinions, but I think that's also part of it. Is just like everyone is competing with each other. It's just like if you hear a piece of information, you have to grab it and run with it, or the other person's going to do it. And is it true? Is it not? I don't know, whatever. Somebody told me, just put it up there.
So you're saying, and sorry, that went down like a total rabbit hole, but just like, I think you brought up a really, really good point, Roxy, about like how it has seemed chaotic coming out of DC and where this sits within the middle of the chaos. And oddly enough, as weird of a film as this is, this one seems the least chaotic to me.
Oh, yeah.
Of anything that's not actually, you know what I mean?
100%. I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around what's going on with like Birds of Prey or The Batman or any of the films that have had 50,000 switches.
You mean where Oscar Isaac is playing every role in the movie?
Oh, interesting.
That's what I
You heard
heard
it here
about Batman.
first.
He's mocap everything.
Well, he's playing a very special role, which to me means he's just playing everyone.
You're right. This is the one that has been like the most streamlined and the least back and forth. It's still just like, it's a lot.
What does that say when the movie that is like the most insane seems like it has the most, it seems like it has the most cohesive voice it seems like it's most clear on what it is. Because as insane as all of these casting, I know so many people are getting mad at me right now, but as insane as all of these
What? Who's
castings
mad at
and
you?
descriptors, them.
Billy, can you confirm or deny?
No one is mad at you.
As insane as all of it is, and as it's consistently insane, you know what I mean? It's all in the same tone as we start to hear more about it. I don't know. Is that just me?
No, I think that's accurate. I think it's accurate.
No,
This movie's gonna be so weird. I'm excited. It's the first time I'm saying it out loud. I'm excited. I can't just not say it anymore. I guess I'm excited. I guess I'm in.
What's the next weird thing they announce about this movie? Is it that it's like they're gonna one-shot it like Birdman?
I hope so.
Just one long, continuous, weird Joker movie take?
That Ethan Hawke has signed on and changed his name.
There's all a ruse.
Hawk. I was wrong. Well,
He's
no, I
playing
wasn't.
Batman in a weird timeline
100%.
mix.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope Emmanuel Lubezki is shooting it and it's one shot. Anyway, you guys and Billy are our biggest DC fans. So what would you like to see broadly? What would you like to see the studio do? How would you like to see them take control?
Well, now it's kind of done. Like, there actually is no more information that needs to be announced about this film, unless they just want to put out one standard, like, hey guys, here's what we got so far. Because I don't need to know anything more. Billy, how do you feel?
I mean, it is what it is. I like some of it. It's very odd. This is the Harvey Dent of Batman movies, because half of it I really like, and half of it I'm like, I don't know about that. But
I see what you did there. It was pretty good.
But you know what? If it lives in a vacuum and I end up not liking it, then whatever. There's tons of other Batman stuff and DC stuff that I do like, and that's the beauty of this movie, is that it nothing lives or dies by this movie solely.
That's a good point.
But I just meant, okay, Joe, so in general, in 1 year from now, what does the DC slate look like in your dream world?
Glow season 3 ends with Mark Maron leaving his theater in Vegas and then walking into a theater where Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is performing, and they're tied together.
I think it's that we have... Great. We have Shazam. We have Aquaman. We have Wonder Woman 2. We figure out where Joker fits. We figure out the Batman. We get our Gotham City Sirens / Birds of Prey, the first one, and then go into Gotham City Sirens. They figure out their Suicide Squad 2. Like, we start doing this so that ultimately we can end up with a Legion and in 2025 go there. But like, let's start with our 3. Let's start with Shazam, Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, and see if we can knock 3 in a row.
And adhere to the characters as fans understand
I want to put
them.
off tying any of this together as long as possible. If they don't tie together any DC movies for the next 15 years, like, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
If they just kept knocking things out until you were like, please put them in a league together so they'll punch something as a group, then that's what I want.
We still need a Flash movie before that.
I don't know what that
Probably
voice
need a
is.
Cyborg one.
Do you guys like my
what
DC
about our
fan
Green
voice?
Lantern movie? Yeah. Ooh.
Because you sound sad.
That's a troll voice.
All right, more stuff happening in the world. You know what? I do understand fans of characters being upset at sort of switches, but because this one, like you said, Dan, is so separate than anything else that's going to go on around Aquaman and all those other things.
Yeah, the thing is, like, come on, DC fans. Like, DC does Elseworld better than any other comics do their alternate realities, except for a couple examples of when Marvel does it really, really well. But ignoring those, DC is the king at it. Some of their Elseworld tales are... I mean, Killing Joke is an Elseworld tale.
Yeah.
Some of their most classic stories have nothing to do with continuity. Red Sun has nothing to do with continuity. Some of their best stuff. So why shouldn't the movies do the same thing? Come on, have a weird Joker movie. Do a weird medieval Batman movie where he's a knight and the Joker is a dragon that wears clown makeup for some reason, and who cares? Like, just give me those weird movies. Do it.
And Khaleesi comes in.
Yep. And she's like, where is my Batman? And he's like, here. And then the cape goes around her and all the bats fly up.
And then she's wearing her pearls because she's also his mother.
Exactly.
And then they fall to the ground, and then we stay on the shot way too long.
Yep. And then Roxy just starts to sing that grandfather song.
I'm my own grandpa.
And then a series of bats rise the dragon Joker up into the night sky. And its wings.
Yep.
Dan, you have to add to this
The
movie.
1990s sitcom.
Dan,
No, thank you.
what singer does Dan? What singer does the song?
No.
What singer does
I don't
the
do
song?
improv, Joe.
I plead the fifth.
I do it on the night.
Do you not sanction these shenanigans?
Do I not? No, I love shenanigans.
Well, more shenanigans
Sanction
ahead.
my shenanigans.
We should get a shirt that says that. Dan loves shenanigans.
There's way more shenanigans ahead. Good news. So this is via the playlist. I think you brought up a really great point about the studio in general, and I think this movie matches what Warner Brothers has been around DC for last year. Cary Fukunaga claims that Warner Brothers was afraid of him. What? So this is via the playlist, and so he left it 2 weeks before production began, and he said that the studio was concerned that he would, quote, go rogue. He said, quote, I think it was fear on their part that they couldn't control me, and then they wanted to eat it. No, they thought they couldn't control me. I wouldn't have been a total collaborator. That was the kind of sorry, I'm going to start that again. I would have been a total collaborator. That was kind of the ridiculous part. It was just more of a perception. I have never seen a note and been like, F you guys, no way.
Well done,
It's
Roth.
always been a conversation. Thank you. I didn't blow it on that one. So he's saying that Warner Brothers was concerned that he wouldn't take their notes as they were constructing the film. And he said that's not true. But because of those concerns, he left the film. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, I'm going back in my head to when all of this happened. Like, wasn't it an act? It sounds like they were just like retroactively, or just like, we don't know if we can work with you, so we're just gonna let you go. As I recall, weren't there differences? Didn't he have things in his script that Warner Brothers was like, we're not quite so sure about? I think he's spoken to this. It's
Those
like,
were-
there were some things that were like super out there and a little more Stephen King-y as far as like the crazy aspects
turtle
of
in
the
it?
script. I don't know, but Warner Brothers was like, we're not so sure if this is quite the direction we want to go, and he kind of had this vision. Like,
Was it the sex ritual?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Let's just ask Dan what it was.
But so, I mean, it seems to me like there was some creative differences and perhaps some stuff. It just seems like if you have a director attached to a project and you have creative differences, it's not because the studio proactively decided the director wouldn't take notes. It seems like that would kind of be a process of saying, like, you know what, maybe we don't quite line up. I don't know. This just seems like kind of a weird justification and making himself look very blameless in it. Just saying, like, I don't know what happened. I'm a great collaborator, and I've never not taken a note, and so I don't know why they didn't work with me. But it just doesn't hit.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up to
I
me.
agree. I think what's so strange about this is there's no way the studio didn't have a conversation first. Like, no way they were just like, we have this theory that you won't take notes. We don't know if it's true or not.
Right.
We're not going to test it.
You don't
And
seem like the
instead
kind
we
of
should-
person that would take notes.
That just doesn't really make sense. So the only reason that you would let somebody go is because you tried to give notes and they didn't take them. So I don't really get this quote unless we are living in Looney Tune land and they looked at him and were like, nah, we're not going to give this a shot after all of this time. This doesn't feel like a full story.
Yeah.
I can see a director or a talent with like a hand hovering over the eject button on a project like it, though, just kind of looking for the reason, because it was in development for a long time, even before he came on board. Like, I mean, they had how many versions of this thing had they already just like canned before he came on?
Will Poulter
Yeah,
was
Will
it,
Poulter.
and then he got
Oh, yeah.
So I could see someone.
I thought they disagreed on that. I thought he really wanted Will Poulter. And
Yeah, I
they
think
did.
that was one of
part
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Was the I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. Is like this. To kind of paint it as just like, I don't get it. I'm super easy to work with, and I would never not take a note. And I don't understand. Like, that just seems kind of. It's just very one-sided to me. There's more there than that.
I could see someone going into that situation and already having like shields up, you know, like having
You mean
seen.
Cary Fukunaga?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like already seeing how the studio had treated previous incarnations of the thing, when it didn't sort of match their vision or what they wanted out of the movie, and already just going in and being like, "Oh, you don't want the turtle? Well, I'm gone." You know, like, turtle goes or I go. Like, so I can see him sort of being like, as an artist, sort of hypersensitive, or like just ready to be like, yeah, give me
I
those notes, I
think-
dare you.
I think his script is out there. And as I recall, I think they merged some characters. They didn't use the full number of, they kind of combined 2 characters into 1 character and like had really taken some liberties. And I think that Warner Brothers might have been just like, hey, we think maybe you should be a little more faithful to the, like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's creative differences are fine. There's nothing wrong with creative differences. If you get to a point in the project where neither party seems invested, it doesn't have to be toxic or reflect badly on somebody. I don't know.
I almost wish she said that. Like, we had creative differences. I like what they put out. It wasn't exactly what I saw. We couldn't see eye to eye, and that totally works. Like,
well, he had already, after True Detective season 1, I think maybe he's protecting his reputation a little bit. This is a guess, really just a guess, because there had been some differences around going into True Detective season 2, which is why he didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Billy.
Yeah, Billy. Is there any more? Can you shine any light on?
I thought that he had a little like he may just be out there like saying to the press so that other studios know after like a couple of high profile things didn't work out.
Well, I definitely think that's what it is, Roth.
That he's just like no, I'm easy to work with.
Yeah,
because
he does have his new series Maniac coming out. I think that's what he's promoting right now.
What is that? I don't even know.
It's a Netflix series. So he's working with Netflix at the moment. I'll get back to you.
So he also, it was such a massive success. So to have left for creative differences and then have the project be great and a huge like breakout hit is probably a little bit sensitive too, because it's like, well, clearly they were right. Like,
I mean, they did something right. Yeah.
Clearly, they were making the right calls. Skarsgård alone was great as Pennywise, and I think everybody was like, "Oh, Will Poulter seemed like perfect casting to me too." And then,
well, he could have been,
and maybe he would have been in a different way.
Been, yeah.
Anyway, it's just kind of like an interesting. I think people. What we're circling back to is how they use the press to try and get out their own message for the sake of their career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
It's what it's there for, but I don't know if people are falling for that completely because what he's pitching doesn't make sense.
Yeah. We'll follow up on the True Detective piece because I remember there were some issues on that too. Disney.
I like
That's
this story.
I love this story.
Yeah.
This is so weird. So Disney has a Millennium Falcon ride that this is a slash film that is set to come out in the new Star Wars land, and they are testing it currently. So they are somewhere in Glendale in some like warehouse or whatever. They have this ride and they're testing it, and they're bringing in groups of like 6 to 7 people. And at first they started to bring in 6 to 7 people who knew each other, and then they started to try and create the experience that you would actually be having at the ride, where it's like, Roxy, you and I went for the day, and then we don't know Joe and Dan and Billy, and they all went, and then we're in this ride together, and it's a completely interactive experience, meaning like we have to very quickly decide, like, you're the captain, I'm certainly Chewie, I don't know what you guys are doing but stuff, and there's buttons to press, and we're on a mission and we gotta smuggle some stuff, right? And what they're finding is that people are leaving very frustrated because they don't know these people. And you could have your entire experience, because the ride is so interactive, ruined by the one person who doesn't know what they're doing. Yep. And so the person feels bad and you feel bad. And it's like, if you're deeply immersed and know what you're doing, 10% of the crowd, the 10% of the attendees might have an awesome experience. So here are some quotes. So, quote, if you know what you're doing, the rewritability of the original version of the Millennium Falcon experience was insane. You could have multiple rides with infinite outcomes. But the problem is they've been doing the playtesting around Glendale. I'm looking for you, kid. And I live close enough. I'll take a drive. They've been recruiting people to come in, and they've been making a point of initially, well, everything I just said. And they've been finding that people are frustrated, and it's more frustrating than it is entertaining. And so this is coming from Jim Hill. And he says, this is not a happy moment. They are now having to retrofit after the fact, and they are computing The computing power that's involved in controlling this imagery is Pentagon level stuff. The worry right now is they've delivered an amazing ride experience for 10% of the guests, and the other 90% are going to have, whether it's tech issues or frustrated with other people in the cabin who aren't holding their end, ... There's some tweaking going on. So the other thing that Billy was mentioning was that it is sort of like, you could wait 3 hours for this ride because of the amount of time it takes to go on a mission, then have a shitty experience.
Yep.
And it's the first ride as you enter the park, and it kind of like, you're a good rebel and you're a pilot, and I keep making you the pilot, you're definitely Chewie, and all of these things. And then that goes with you throughout the rest of your experience at the park. You're Han Solo. And who's also the pilot. You're the same person. It's weird.
Dan and I are the same person. That's what everyone says.
The idea is to kind of almost Westworld it, to make whatever your ride experience is to carry that narrative, that story all throughout your stay at the Star Wars land. Now with this, I have no idea if that's going to stick, but also by waiting for 3 hours, the difference is that something like a Pirates of the Caribbean, which is moving a lot, by the math that Jim Hill did, you're only getting about 850 or so people on this thing per hour, which is about a quarter of what something like a Pirates of the Caribbean is.
Camp out.
So
This sounds brutal. Like every part of this sounds brutal. First of all, I'm not saying that I don't like people, but I am also saying I don't like people.
Sure.
When you are at a theme park and you are smelly and sticky and sweaty and you've been waiting in line for 3 hours and you're exhausted, you don't want to talk to strangers. That's like, or at least I don't want to talk to strangers. That is not what I'm in the mood for. I want to lean on somebody's shoulder. I want to be with my friends. I want to sit and do a fun ride. I don't want to be like, you there who I don't know, why don't you take hold of this, and then fight with somebody who's a stranger. Every part of this sounds like a miserable experience. I cannot believe it got to this point before they were like, maybe this doesn't work.
Yeah, this is look, and it's not even about strangers necessarily. Like, imagine
Even your family I would fight with.
The parents that like have saved up $1,000 to bring their two grubby ass kids to Disney. They've been screaming all day, and now they got to sit in this thing, and now mom's getting shouted at because she doesn't know how to navigate to Bespin correctly, and just everything's falling apart. And that's the last day of their marriage. They got to deal with the one guy because it's a cockpit of 5 and they only have 4, and so they brought in the extra guy on edibles, and he's being weird to their kids. Like, it's like, this is like a total disaster. Like, the point.
They needed to focus group Joe. That was a vivid horror show.
Yeah.
The point of Disney is illusion of adventure.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is a great ride because I can hold the wheel and go vroom and then pretend I turned right and that a giant snake had swooped at me. Not that I actually did it. Like,
Because otherwise that
agree.
boulder hits you.
I agree
yeah.
because when you sign up for an escape room, you're signing up for that kind of experience. But when you go to Disneyland, at least for me, I want to let go. I want to let go of control. I want to be taken on the ride. I do not want to have to make decisions. I make decisions all the time.
You don't like the Toy Story thing? That's great. You get the laser and you can shoot the
but you're not- you don't have to talk to
I don't
people.
want to be judged. I don't want to be the one that's holding back the team. I would feel bad the rest of the day.
I want to know more about what this interface is. What is it that you can be doing that? But no, really, like, what is it that one person can be doing that's holding the ride back? Is it? Do you have to flip a
navigate,
switch or something?
being a child?
like
Decision, like, could you just make a I don't know. It's a
right.
good
Yeah,
question.
that's what I like. What is it materially that this is what I want to know that somebody can do that would ruin the experience for someone else?
Sure, someone's a
there's
gunner
some
and
kind
they
of
missed.
cooperative,
Yeah,
I think, but
they
it's
missed a shot.
but it's not going to be like the ride lasts 30 seconds and it's over. You're going to get the full ride. Like, there are too many X factors in this for me. Number one, I want to know who are they recruiting to test this? Are these like theme park people? Because, and no offense to our dear friend Mike Carlson, but theme park people are a whole different breed as far as judging what's a good ride and what's not a good ride. Like, if these are all theme park people, then I would imagine they have a much higher bar for what a good ride is versus what's not a good ride.
Check out Theme
It's
Park the
probably
Ride
not. I
podcast.
would imagine it's more regular.
Families.
How do we get in on
people,
this?
But like, what is the?
I
Like, I
wanna
need to
know.
know what is it that's ruining their experience. Because if it's sort of this thing of just like, well, I wanted to go on the asteroid, and you didn't let me. Well, that's whatever. But if it's like literally the experience is materially impacted by something else, instead of just like, I wanted to go over there and you didn't let me go over there, well, whatever, just get back in line.
But what I love,
Roxy is the pilot and she crashes the Falcon.
Right, that's what I want to know. It's like what is it that is causing people to come out of it?
The
and
other
say,
thing that I
did not
love
enjoy that.
is the idea that part of Star Wars Land is you're going to have a narrative. They want you to have your own Star Wars adventure throughout the day. So like the choices you make and the things you do on the ride are supposed to follow you. I don't know how that pans out exactly. Whether like your waiter has to walk over and be like, "Hello, Padawan, congratulations on your training,"
and you wear a
chicken
pin
fingers.
or whatever. Yeah.
Like they're able to like scan your ticket from a distance and be like, "Hey, I saw that you met C-3PO this morning. Great job. Here's your Pepsi," or whatever. But imagine this is the first thing you did and somebody blew it for you, and for the rest of the day you're a failed smuggler.
Yeah.
Like crashed the Millennium Falcon and everyone reminds you of it for the rest of the day.
That would be amazing.
BB-8 rolls up and just calls you a sucker.
Hi, Mr. Starr. Rough mission today, huh?
Yeah.
Like everywhere you go.
The other thing that they have to account for is that Disneyland is not just like an American attraction. Even though there are Disneyland parks in other parts of the world, there are a lot of foreign tourists that probably don't speak.
Why
the
don't we go to
language.
Billy's camera? What just that?
That's when you know
About a
JT
30-second delay. JT's
is
checked out of the show.
texting.
Billy, what
are you
did you even just
texting?
say?
Lower third.
I couldn't pay attention.
I was just saying a lot of it too is like there's a lot of language barriers with foreign tourists. It's great on
that's
paper.
very
but-
true.
Great on paper, but I don't. They've got some serious retrofitting to do before April of next year.
A great ride that made you feel like you were there was they turned it into a Lilo and Stitch thing. But do you remember Alien Escape? It was in the park for like a minute.
Oh, terrifying.
It was legitimately scary.
I don't remember
They're like,
this.
you're on a space station or something like that, and you're going on a tour, and they're going to give you a presentation on space, and everybody sits down in their chairs, and someone's like, "Oh my God, something's gone wrong. They're out of containment," and basically like there's a xenomorphy type thing sneaking around you, and it was like the most un-Disney thing. It was so
terrifying.
scary, like something just would breathe in your ear. But imagine doing that, but it's an actual escape room, and you have to figure out how to get out with all these strangers, and how stressful that would be, and how instantly you're
not
just
fun.
screaming at each other to fix a puzzle.
My favorite part of Alien Encounter, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but they literally replaced it with the Toy Story ride. So it went from like, there's an alien who's going to eat my head and he's spitting on me, to like, howdy, partner! Good to go! It's like the least risky
And there's still a
ride at
xenomorph?
Disney. No, I wish there was still a xenomorph that would just like get you at some point in the Toy Story ride, but no.
That would be amazing. To infinity and oh God!
Oh God, the humanity!
Blood everywhere!
Yeah.
I do think that on paper, this is a really interesting idea for like a very specialty part of the park. Like for that time, I don't know if that's financially feasible at all to do something like that.
Or I think this is more like the future of arcades.
Yeah.
Like you also in Glendale, and I think it's at Downtown Disney as well. There's that Secrets of the Empire. It's the VR thing where you throw on the VR helmet and you're all stormtroopers and you shoot at each other. I think that kind of thing is where arcades go. You get bored following your mom around at the mall and you go do the Millennium Falcon thing with your friends. Like that's what the Ninja Turtles
And it could be different every
arcade
time.
cabinet was for us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then you would keep returning. That's true. That would be really cool. I mean, it's like, I feel like under the right circumstances, I would want to do it, but not necessarily as a part of my day at Disneyland. I want to volunteer, however.
I want to know why
the
people are
six people
upset,
in this
yes.
room to go and test. If you're watching Disney, and I know you are, I want to volunteer.
'Cause you're
the
watching everything.
The 6 people in this room to go and test this ride, and I just want to see how bloody every single person is.
Who can we email?
By the end. I don't know. I don't think they're letting people like us.
Well, they
They're-
definitely are not letting media ride this.
Yeah,
I
they're
promise
not.
you.
They're not.
They're doing
Yeah.
a YouTube search on everybody's name to make sure that they're
Yeah.
not gonna,
Okay,
know.
let's
There's a few
submit
people
fake
they'll probably invite
names.
to ride it.
Yeah.
Regina Phalange.
Yeah,
I love Regina. Her unboxing
Phalange.
channel is fantastic.
I want in on this so bad, y'all. I want to know. Introducing a new segment today. It is the Twitter quote of the day, but it is Twitter quote, Dwayne. So everything that is being said is being said specifically to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. From us to you.
We're saying this to The Rock?
We are saying this to The Rock. Hey, Dwayne. This comes from John Cena. This is on August 27th.
Love his
John
unboxing
Cena
channel.
had this to say. Love yourself, Dwayne. There will always be hatred, Dwayne. Striving to be better is wonderful, but always #love yourself, Dwayne. And know the difference between the self-love and self-absorption, Dwayne. One will help you, one will not, Dwayne. Okay, that's my new segment.
I can't think of anyone who needs self-affirmation less than The Rock. He's the most
I just like the dad. I like the idea that John Cena's like having a fatherly. First of all, I highly encourage us all to look at John Cena's Twitter.
Oh, it's good. I also like how weirdly passive-aggressive that tweet was to The Rock.
but it wasn't to The Rock.
No, she made it to
I
The
made it
Rock.
to
Oh,
The
you
Rock.
made it to The Rock. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were saying he tweeted it
No,
to The
this
Rock.
is the real tweet from John Cena, and I actually think it's a cute, sweet bit of advice. John Cena has this to say. Love yourself. There will always be hatred. Striving to be better is wonderful, but always #love yourself. And know the difference between self-love and self-absorption. One will help you, one will not. Dwayne.
It
But
is
it's more
still
fun
weird.
if it's passive aggressively to
Dwayne The Rock
every time.
Johnson.
Yeah.
I think what people choose to hashtag is still so weird. I still don't
It's
think
so
people
weird.
get it. Like,
no one understands.
why #love yourself?
That's
Like,
not a thing. That's not a thing.
Do you guys, how many of you guys have friends with parents who think that #MeToo is literally saying me as well?
Oh, no.
I have so many friends who will, their parents will respond to things with #MeToo, and it's like, no, that's not what that's for.
Oh no! Oh
Not
dear
what that
My
God!
God.
is.
So Alec Baldwin was trending yesterday, and once again there was the need,
What
like,
happened?
don't panic. We need you to have a don't panic icon, Twitter.
To be fair,
God.
with Alec Baldwin, it's always 50-50.
Yeah, we
When
don't
you see
know.
him you don't know what.
What
If I
did
see
he
Alec
do?
Baldwin trending, I would believe literally almost anything that somebody told me had happened.
I
with
feel
Alec
like somebody had
Baldwin.
hacked into my phone because I was currently watching Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Alec Baldwin when he started trending, and I was like, "Is everybody watching this right now? Like, what have I done?"
Like the Pentagon hacked into your phone
Yeah.
and was just
No,
broadcasting
if you
it.
told me that
and that's how
Baldwin,
self-absorbed I am.
if you told me he was arrested for selling cocaine to a minor while ride testing the Millennium Falcon ride, I'd
I
be
would
like,
believe it.
that
Yeah,
tracks.
that
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
wild.
God. Love yourself.
about your ride.
Hashtag love yourself.
I have some,
You know
Lemon,
what?
I have some concerns about this Millennium Falcon.
Also, I tried to open the smuggler doors and the switch didn't work. I'm gonna punch your daughter. What? What? Why did Alec Baldwin say he was gonna punch my daughter?
Yeah, that's the worst. That'll happen though in this ride.
Exactly.
Alec Baldwin
I
will
would
be
believe
like,
that.
I was having a great time visiting Chandrilla until these poor people like
Listen to me, little
screwed
pig.
it up and took us to Coruscant.
You were supposed to shoot that X-wing, and you didn't pull the trigger.
I don't need to go
Sorry,
to Coruscant.
Alec
I live in Coruscant.
Why are you at Disneyland? Don't mind that.
And it's just got a big lollipop.
And then at the end of it, I hashtag love you, Roxy Stiar.
#love you, Roth. Is that trending?
Yeah, it's trending right now because we've hacked your brain and it's being broadcast.
You've done it.
Hashtag love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you are the best, most wonderful persons in the world, and we love you. We'll be back with more Twitter quotes, I think. I don't know. It didn't seem to go over that well
I
because I
kinda
had to
liked it.
explain it a lot. So we'll
No,
see.
now
if
that I get it though, I'm like,
Yeah.
all
Are
right.
you in?
I
I
thought it
didn't
was
know
funny.
the premise.
Should we keep
So-
it?
Yeah.
Dan's not sold.
But do we always have to read them to The Rock?
I'll
Can we
hold-
pick different people every week that we feel like need him?
You guys let us know in the comments below. Should we always read it to The Rock? Should it be dependent on who it's coming from, who we read it to? Let us know in the
That'd
comments
be fun
below.
if we just actually read tweets that were to The Rock, because I bet they're crazy.
Oh my God. That's another option. Lots to unpack around here, around our Twitter quotes. Watch the Honest trailer, Dalek Supercut. Serious Questions of Walking Dead with actual Chandler Riggs. Coral came in to do this,
Real
you guys.
Chandler
Coral. We're going to have a movie review, I think, later today on Searching. And soonish and lots of other things. Stuff.